Hey everybody, what's going on? Here we are, Bay Ragni here. I got my good new friend, Mr. Joeylicious, with us. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of music, wrestling, and a whole bunch of other stuff. We're going to have a good time, but before we do that, I just got to tell everybody about this show, or none of these shows don't happen if it's not for our good friend Dan Peasy and his team of professional realtors at Next Home Brandywine. Those realtors, they're going to provide you with guidance, knowledge, and information, whether you're a buyer or a seller. Go to nexthomebrandywine.com. They're based out of Downingtown, Pennsylvania, and it doesn't matter if you're nationwide. They're going to help you either way. But they do mainly service the Philadelphia and surrounding counties. And like I said, nationwide referrals are good because they have offices in 48 of the 50 states. Go to nexthomebrandywine.com. Don't forget to ask for the NH5 listing special, or you can just call them directly at 484-364-4862. That's 484-364-4862. And don't forget to say, hey, Totally Driven Radio sent me. But here he is, the man of the hour. Some might call him Joey. Some might call him Mr. Cassata. Or some might just say, hey, Joeylicious, what's going on?
What's up, dude? How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Dude, I it's crazy. Like, a friend of mine kept asking me, like, you got to interview Joey. You got to interview Joey. He's got this wrestling thing coming out. You're going to love him. And I'm like, all right. And then I, start opening the can of worms that is your life. And I'm like, holy shit, dude. I thought I had a lot going on.
It's funny because, with the whole COVID thing, we thought everything would slow down. I'm under quarantine. I'm not going out. I'm not touring. I'm not doing a lot of stuff, but I'm getting more done than ever. I try to make the most of every second. So, I just wrote my second book. I just got my show on Amazon Prime called Wrestling with Joeylicious. So I'm busy. I like to stay busy.
That's awesome. Do you know what? You people like you are an inspiration to me to keep pounding away doing this grind.
Absolutely. I mean, just because we're home, I think we're showing the world that we can do things from home, especially artists. I know we can't go out and tour. We can't go out and perform live, but we could do live stream concerts. We can do videos. We could do recordings. We could write. We could promote things. We have so much that we can still offer that I wish more of the big A-list artists would be doing stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it's funny. I was thinking about the other night. I was thinking, like, when this whole quarantine thing hit, all the big artists were kind of jumping on the bandwagon and doing like stuff on nationwide TV, whether, you know what I mean? Like these stay at home things. But like, that was like the first few weeks. And now where's everybody at now?
Of course, everyone got lazy and they're like, all right, well, there's no need to do this. Listen, hopefully they're still keeping busy. Hopefully everyone's keeping busy. I know it's hard to do. There's a lot of distractions at home, whether it's kids, it's family, it's yard work, it's cooking, whatever it is. Just stay busy. I mean, I think we're trying to. This is a new world now. I don't think it's maybe ever going back to the way it was.
Right.
So, I think people have to take advantage and, do things in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me say this too. I have to get this out of the way before we really get into the nitty gritty. I'm going to ask you right now, being, you're an Italian from Brooklyn. I'm an Italian from Philly. The most important question of this whole interview, I'm going to ask you right now, and it could be the hardest question. Is it gravy or sauce?
It's a very good question. So growing up for me, it was always gravy. So growing up, I always called it gravy. Now that I'm older and maybe I'm still I'm married an Italian girl and I'm still a fully Italian family. I think I've reverted to the sauce more than gravy. But growing up, it was always gravy. Mom's gravy. How about you?
Yep. Same. Gravy.
Yeah.
Yeah. People get so twisted.
Oh, people go crazy. It's not gravy. It's brown. Gravy is brown and you put it on meat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, I do put it on meat. I put it on my meatballs.
Exactly. My meatballs and my sausage.
Exactly right.
Oh, it's awesome. Too funny. Yeah, actually, like I said, I'm down here in Nashville, but my girlfriend, who's been down here in Nashville for 13 years, she's actually from Brooklyn, her and her family.
Oh, that's great. What part of Brooklyn?
Canarsie.
Oh, sure. My father's family grew up in Canarsie.
Nice. Cool. So, all right. So, dude, so you're in Robbie like so much. So, I mean, between the music, TV stuff, acting, now with this wrestling thing, author. Like, what the hell was the thing that came first? I'm guessing it was the music?
Yeah, I mean, I started off, I saw Kiss at Madison Square Garden in 1979. I got hooked on rock and roll, in so many words. All I ever wanted to do after seeing that concert was be a drummer for the rest of my life. And, I pursued that dream forever. And, luckily I did get to live my dream. I was a drummer. I toured with my band Z02. We toured all over the world. We toured with our favorite band, Kiss, that got me into music. And, it was a dream come true. I've been in the music business ever since. I've been on Broadway. I've done Broadway shows. I've done a lot of touring. I'm currently playing with Eric Martin from Mr. Big.
Okay.
And it's just a lot of fun. But, obviously, as we get older, especially now with COVID, you see the limitations in live music and just the music scene in general. And my old band Z02, we had our own TV show called Z Rock. And it was on the IFC Independent Film Channel for 2 seasons. And it was a scripted show, not a reality show. It was a comedy based on our band. And it was about a kids band during the day, rock band at night. And it's really what we did for a living for a long, long time. Even when we were on the road with bands like Kiss and Twisted Sister and Poison and all these crazy bands, our day jobs would be playing to little kids at bar mitzvahs, at birthday parties. So we actually got a TV show out of that. An agent from one of the big agencies saw us and they said, "This is crazy. We have to do something with you guys." And we had our own TV show.
But, it's funny because I'm so late to the whole party of the whole Z-Rock thing. Like, I remember constantly, like, people talking about it, like being out at clubs in Philly, seeing bands and stuff. And there was the buzz about it. But I didn't have, like, IFC. So I was, like, never saw it. And, years later, I'm like, okay. But now, like, getting ready to talk to you, I'm, like, going back and watching. I'm like, holy shit, this is freaking hysterical. And then I'm reading, like, basically it's kind of based off a true thing. Like, so you guys were really doing the kids band during the day, like, but actually it's genius. Like, that whole idea is genius because I used to think that to myself, like, raising kids growing up, I'm seeing like the Wiggles and stuff like that.
Right.
Like these guys are making a killing.
And that's how it started. Like I said, we literally played a birthday party and an agent for one of these big agencies were there. And, we would dress like rock and roll, striper shirts, rock and roll shirts. We wouldn't look like the Wiggles. And the guy came up to us and said, "Wow, you guys don't look like a kids band. You don't look like the Wiggles. What are you doing playing this birthday party?" We said, "This is just our day gig. You should come check us out." We were playing Times Square later that night at BB King's. Sure enough, the guy came down, checked us out. It turned out that he was in the TV division at this big agency, not the concert division, which we were hoping for. We're never thinking TV show. We're a bunch of schmucks from Brooklyn. We don't know about anything about TV shows. And he told us, he said, "Why don't we do something in the TV landscape? Try to come up with some concepts and let's do it." And we said, well, the concept is right here. Kids band by day, rock band at night. And, long story short, a couple years later, we had everything ready to go. We filmed the pilot. IFC loved it. Got all these crazy guest stars on board with us, from Joan Rivers to Gilbert Gottfried to Sebastian Bach and Chris Jericho and Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. All these, rock stars and comedians would come on the show and play exaggerated versions of themselves.
Was the Sebastian Bach version really exaggerated?
He might have actually been toned down for the
show. But now, like, that whole thing, like, when this starts happening, like, what does that do for the band Z02? Does it start to blow you guys up even more? Like,
yes and no. Yes, in the sense of course, opportunities became so readily available to us. We got a lot more. We got a lot of big tours. We did some more runs with Kiss. We did some more runs with the Scorpions and Cinderella and all these other crazy bands. But the funniest part that we would find is this whole new audience would come out to see us all over the country. And when they would sell out these clubs and these theaters and stuff, they would come up to us after the show and say, "We had no idea you were a real band. We watch your TV show called Z-Rock every week. And we saw, in the local paper or whatever, some advertisement that you were playing at, so-and-so theater in our town. And we couldn't believe that you were actually a real band." So that's like the funniest part about the show. We had this giant fan base from the show. We were averaging over 1 million viewers a week. And a lot of them didn't realize we were a real band.
That's what I thought. Like, I honestly thought it was like a band that was put together for the show. I didn't think it was a real band. Wow.
Yeah, and listen, I totally get it. Trust me, we weren't actors before we started. We're not actors now. We were just being ourselves on the show with, like I said, with three goofballs from Brooklyn, ragging on each other or, putting us in these weird circumstances or weird predicaments. And it's just how we would naturally, talk our way out of things or, badmouth someone or laugh at a joke. It was just a natural, we used to call it reacting rather than acting.
But how about, you have the Z02 band at night, but the Z Brothers band during the day. Did the show hurt that business?
Well, it was funny enough, we almost didn't have to. I mean, we love doing kids music. We still all do it. Paulie does it. Unfortunately, David Z, the other member of our band, passed away a couple of years ago in a tragic accident. But Paulie still teaches kids. I still teach kids. We still do that separately. It's still a passion of ours. We love to do children's entertaining. But back then, our focus was strictly on our rock band. The kids stuff was literally just to pay the bills. And it did pay the bills way better than the rock stuff at first. Trust me.
Sure.
Once we got the TV show, our time was so stretched. We were playing shows on the weekends and filming all week long. We had 17, 18-hour days sometimes on set. And then we would literally go straight from the set out to Ohio, 4, 5, 6, 7-hour drive and do a gig. So we had no time for the kids band. Took a backseat for many, many years because of that.
Wow. Now, how about were you involved in helping write the show as well?
Yeah. So the show, technically it didn't have writers. It was basically based on real life, and we would come up with these circumstances. Some of them based on weird stuff that happened to us, whether it was on the road or at kids' parties, and then some stuff, our producers and our kind of writers would come up with certain scenarios, but they would just be quasi scenarios to get from point A to Z. And then our dialogue would kind of lead where the scene went and how we went along with the rest of the show. Gotcha.
Now, did you guys think to yourself, like you said, you were reacting, not acting, but did you think to yourself going into it, like, we're not freaking actors. How are we going to do this?
Well, I mean, yes. When we first did the pilot, again, it's not like we were nervous or anything. We all had really big personalities. We were already on the road with, some of these bands. We already felt comfortable in front of cameras and doing interviews and stuff like that. So, when they called action, the only thing that took getting used to was kind of not blocking the camera or not blocking the light. Doing the stuff in front of the camera, being exaggerated versions of yourself, was easy. I was playing Joey from Brooklyn. I wasn't playing, the rocket scientist trying to, discover something. I was playing myself, an exaggerated version of myself, but I was using my own lines. I was using my own mannerisms. So it felt very natural to us, especially because the three of us were such good friends and they were brothers. We had so much time already spent together. It was natural to talk amongst each other. So acting was never a problem for us.
So the show went on for 2 seasons. What happened? Did IFC want to pull the plug on it? Did you guys want to pull the plug?
So basically what happened was, I'm some of your viewers have seen the show. You've seen a little bit of the show. The first season was very racy. It was very, groupies and some nudity and a lot of cursing and with these crazy comedians cursing. And it was pretty raunchy. And then the second season, IFC was looking to go more ad-based. It was becoming a little bit more user-friendly, for the cable network. And, the second season, we cleaned it up quite a bit. And then the third season, we were trying to get sponsors and stuff for the show once again. And IFC was having a tough time selling the show to all their sponsors because of the raciness of the first 2 seasons. So, it just wind up fizzling out. We had a great time doing it. And, unfortunately, we didn't get picked up for the third season because of that, but we had a great time doing it. You could stream it on my YouTube channel right now at Joey Cassata at YouTube. You could buy the DVDs on Amazon. They're both seasons are available on DVD. It's so much fun. The DVDs has so many behind the scenes bloopers with all these guest stars. It's so much fun.
That's cool. Now, how about the band afterwards? Like, did you guys start to tail off? Like, what happened to the band after that?
So the band after that, we were still together maybe another 4 years after that.
Okay.
And, then things started to slow down a little bit, just like anything. We had a peak. It was tough to, match the peak of being on our own TV show, having a million viewers a week, and out on the road all the time, touring with all these big bands because of the success of the TV show. So, we wind up slowing down a little bit. I had a kid, my first child. I wound up having my second child. One of the singer Paulie wanted to move to LA. So we kind of fizzled out. We never officially broke up. We kind of called it a hiatus. And eventually we always thought we'd get back together and, maybe relaunch the show or do something. But like I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, our bass player David Z passed away, and we never got to do any of that stuff that we always thought we would do.
Yeah, like the whole thing with David Z. I mean, just a horrible, horrible freaking accident, man. I'm sorry. First, condolences to you and Paulie's family and all. I mean, and actually, you guys just recently, because I interviewed Steve Brown from Trickster a couple weeks ago, and he was getting ready to do, I think, a thing with you with Rubik's Cube or something, a benefit for
David. So every year we do a benefit show for David, and unfortunately, this year we couldn't do the benefit show because of COVID. Right. So what his brother Paulie did, he put on this magnificent online streaming event with hundreds and hundreds of celebrities of, whether they were being interviewed or they donated a song or a performance for the show. And it just became such a big event. They raised, I think, over $30,000 for his scholarship foundation. Wow. And it was an amazing event. Steve was a part of it. I play with Steve with Eric Martin in the Eric Martin band right now. Right. So we're bandmates currently. And he was a great part of that. He did something with his band Rubik's Cube. I did something with Constantine Maroules and Angus Clark from TSO. We did a song called Cry. So you can see that on the David Z Foundation page on Facebook. You can watch the whole event. It's like 5 hours of nonstop music and stars of just every genre you can really think of. Wow.
So after Z02 starts to fade away, what do you do then? Because then I saw you were playing with Trans-Siberian Orchestra for like 10 years.
Right. So I was actually a member of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I've been their backup drummer for almost 15 years now. So,
holy crap.
Yeah, still currently too. I don't know if they're touring this year, but that's always been in my my wheelhouse. And after Z02 started to fade away, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do too. I had that acting bug for a little bit. And that's kind of when I started writing this show, Wrestling with Joeylicious. It's a show based on me as a wannabe wrestler that never made it. I'm currently in my 40s. I live at home with my mom. And these wrestling legends from the 80s and 90s appear to me in my imagination. And they kind of give me this always bad advice. It's never good advice. And it always leaves me in this awkward situation, whether it's in front of my family, my friends, my girlfriend. And it's just a wacky comedy. We like to think of it as like a cross between Curb Your Enthusiasm and Rocky.
First off, it's freaking hysterical. I sat and watched it last night. There's 5 or 6 episodes on Amazon Prime right now. Yeah, it's first, and I think I told you in Messenger. I used to be a pro wrestler. I was a pro wrestler for 15 years. I was in ECW. It's one of the original Dudley brothers.
Amazing.
So I see Mick Foley, an old friend, in there. Jimmy Snuka, who I wrestled one time.
Oh, you're kidding. That's amazing.
Yeah. A funny thing with Roddy Piper, who's also in your show. I was doing a autograph convention in Philly, probably like 10 years ago. And Piper was there, and he did like a Piper's Pit segment and all. And I was getting interviewed by a person for their YouTube channel. And we're doing the interview, and Piper comes blasting through. And I was like the mark in me just totally marked out. I'm like, Roddy Piper.
I mean, obviously, unfortunately, Piper and Jimmy are both passed away, since we filmed. We started filming these shorts a couple years ago. And, the intention of these shorts were to get a full-length series out of it. And we wanted to, we were pitching it all over network. We were doing everything. And unfortunately, right before COVID hit, we did have a production deal on the table for the full-length episodes for the show. And, the deal with COVID, because all the production in Hollywood and everything got shut down, we just got put on hold. Luckily, Amazon Prime picked up the shorts. Hopefully, they're going to produce more and full-length episodes of the show for Amazon Prime. once all the virus clears up. But in the meantime, what we did was my fellow creator and myself, my friend Chris Lynn, who created the show with me, we took the script from season 1 and basically made a novel out of it. And what we're doing is, you know how when Star Wars comes out or one of these big Marvel movies comes out, sometimes they release the novelization before the show.
Yeah.
So what we did was we're going to release the novelization of the first season of Wrestling with Joeylicious. I actually have a preview copy. This is the first preview copy of it right here. It actually says not for sale. See that?
Nice.
But
Nice.
this is going to be available
Oh crap!
in bookstores, Amazon. It's the full first season. Crazy guest stars. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin, Chris Jericho, Hulk Hogan, big wrestling stars throughout the show appear to me to try to help me make my dreams come true to become a professional wrestler. And that's going to be like the preview of the series that hopefully will be on Amazon Prime, hopefully sometime next year.
So I gotta ask, like, being this whole thing, like, how big of a wrestling fan are you? I mean, is this something that was also like going around in your mind? Did you actually want to be a professional wrestler at any time?
So when I grew up, all I ever dreamt of was Kiss and wrestling. That was my life, drums, Kiss, and wrestling. And
you sure we're not related?
But I mean, when I was a kid, again, I grew up in the early '80s. When I saw WWF television on Saturday mornings, I was hooked forever. Jimmy Snuka was my very first professional wrestler that I absolutely loved. He was everything to me. And then, as the '80s rolled around and Hulk Hogan became the guy, he really turned, my love of wrestling into an obsession. I was actually at Madison Square Garden to see him win the title for the very first time against the Iron Sheik, January 23rd, 1984. So that'll tell you how big of a wrestling fan I am. I could jot off those dates, at the top of my head. But growing up, I always wanted to either be a wrestler or a drummer. And I was a really big kid. I was basically this size, about 5'11", 180 in the 5th grade. Wow. And, I was a monster compared to my friends. But then all of a sudden, I just stopped growing. And, the dreams of becoming a wrestler started to go down and the drummer started going up because, I didn't have anywhere to practice the craft of wrestling back then. I didn't have the size back then. So years later, after I did Z-Rock, like I said, I got the acting bug. I said, okay, how can I live that dream out now too? I've already lived the dream of being the professional drummer that I always wanted to be. How can I live this dream of being a wrestler without, breaking my leg and breaking my arms? So
sure,
I recruited these legends. We filmed with Jimmy Snuka, Roddy Piper, the Iron Sheik, Tito Santana, Mick Foley, all of these guys. And a lot of the other big name wrestlers are on board with the show. Guys like Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan and Jake the Snake Roberts. All these guys are going to be a part of the show once we start filming. And, to be on set with these guys and getting put a sleeper hold by Roddy Piper or getting hit in the head with a coconut by Jimmy Snuka, it was really a dream come true. It was almost better for me than actually becoming a professional wrestler.
Yeah, it's funny. As I was watching, I was trying to, at first I'm like, all right, the Mick Foley episode's my favorite. And then I see the Sheik one. I'm like, I don't know. It's close.
Right.
But they're all freaking hysterical. I mean, it's truly like, you can see it's like the little kid in you living out those moments and dreams.
It absolutely is. And working with these guys it was such a pleasure. Mick Foley was, they're all different levels of professionalism and wackiness. Yeah. Mick Foley was super professional. He helped, write some of the dialogue, and he was so into, in the episode, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but we have scenes with him with all his wrestling characters. All the faces of Foley are in there. Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, Mankind, Dude Love, all of them appear in the episode with me at the same time. So, we use some trickery and magic to make that happen. And then guys like the Iron Sheik, who was, we didn't even know that we were going to get him to film until the day we filmed. I talked to his manager for months, scheduling the filming. And he was just like, listen, the Sheik's crazy. I don't know if he'll be able to do it. I'm like, well, how can my crew is coming. We're going to film. And he's like, well, that day, if he's into it, we're going to film. So, I tell this story all the time. I actually had to, the day of filming, I had my crew set up. The shot was all set. I literally went over to the Sheik. He was confined to a wheelchair at this time. And I grabbed his wheelchair, didn't even ask anything, and just took him onto the set. And so we started filming right like that. And the scene, you saw the scene. The scene actually takes place in a men's bathroom. And as we're explaining the scene to the Sheik, we're about to call action. We turn around and the Sheik is at the urinal with his pants down. And we're like, whoa, Sheik, we're acting here. We don't really have to, use the urinal. And he goes, oh, I didn't know, brother. He figured, he was like a method actor. He was really trying to take a piss right before we set action.
He's a piece of work. I did some road trips through Jersey with him, and a lot of drinking, and a lot of laughs.
Again, I've heard nightmare stories too, but he was a pleasure to us. He was so gracious. We loved every minute of it. He was one of those guys that didn't stick to anything we wrote in the script. He went off and he did his own thing. He did so much of his own dialogue that what we had to do was we had to come back a different day and refilm my dialogue back to him because we had to rewrite the whole episode. So it was nothing like we wrote, but it turned out 10 times better.
So you have like a lot more stuff already filmed then.
We have a lot of stuff in the can. We're ready. Again, we're ready to produce more episodes. We're ready. Like I said, the whole season is written, totally out. We had every script written. The novel is ready to go. Every single episode is in this novel right here. And it ends on a cliffhanger. You're going to see what happens at the end. All of that stuff. A lot of it is filmed already. A lot of it we still have to film. And hopefully, once COVID clears up and we're back into production, we'll be able to get that back on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, because I was wondering, like, when you announced like last week or 2 weeks ago that it's now on Amazon Prime, I'm like, all right, cool. I can sit and watch this. And I go to watch it, and I'm like, oh, but there's only like 2 and 3 4-minute episodes. I'm like,
right.
I got bummed out. I'm like, I want to see more.
And again, like I said, hopefully they will be coming. We were super excited when Amazon picked it up for distribution. We were super happy. We've been trying to get a deal. Like I said, right before COVID, we had a production deal, and because of COVID, it went on hold. And luckily, a lot of these streaming services right now are dying for content because there's no new productions coming. So we got in touch with Amazon. They love the product. They put it out for us. They're distributing it for us. And, hopefully, like I said, if the reviews are good, please, anyone who watches the episodes, leave a good review. Reviews and views show Amazon that the show is popular, and they'll order more episodes.
Nice. So now the book, when will the book come out?
The book is ready to go. Like I said, this is just a preview copy. I actually got this just to make sure that the format is good and the layout is good and everything looks really good. All I have to do is basically okay with the publisher, and it's ready to print. So we're looking to have it out the latest September 1st, but it should be out officially sometime in August.
Wow. That's awesome. So now you have another book too, I saw. It's called Start With a Dream.
I do. That was I released that last year. That's my autobiography. And a lot of the stuff we just talked about, it's basically about that. It starts off with my trip to see Kiss in 1979 at Madison Square Garden, and it takes you through a journey through the 80s. It's a real nostalgia book. From running to the record store to check out the new records, or listening to your Walkman all day long, it makes you really live your childhood again throughout the 80s. And it follows me, through my career as far as all my bands through the 80s and my love of wrestling, and finally meeting Z02 and getting into Z02, and behind the scenes stories of us on tour with Kiss, and behind the scenes stories of me filming some of these episodes of Wrestling with Joeylicious. The whole Sheik story that I just told you is in there, much more elaborate. There was a time where I was literally running with the Sheik in the wheelchair, and Nikolai Volkov was chasing us saying, "Can I be in the show too? Can I be in the show too?" So he wasn't originally in the episode. We wrote him in that day. So as you see at the end of the episode, Nikolai Volkov's in there too.
That's funny.
So that's what that book is about. That's available on Amazon right now. The audio book is available on Amazon and iTunes. I narrate the audio book. It has tons of demos and clips from all my TV shows. It's just a feel-good story of, pursuing your dreams, not stopping no matter what obstacles in front of you. Keep going until you fulfill your dreams and until you make that dream a reality.
Nice. Now, what is it for you? How is it for you being like, I can't imagine. And there's so many of, peers that have done this, but you've done it as well. How does that kid go from seeing Kiss Madison Square Garden 1979 to years later having the opportunity to open for them? What the frig does that feel like?
Well, even in my book, so Peter Criss is who I saw in 1979, who made me want to play drums. And Peter actually wrote the foreword to my autobiography.
Nice.
So, my whole life really came full circle when I wrote this autobiography. From seeing him in 1979 to actually have him write my foreword to my autobiography was, mind-boggling to me. And, the stories that I tell in the book from when we first got on tour with Kiss, it's the little kid in the candy store. We were 3 kids, in our late 20s and put on the road for the very first time. We didn't have a record deal. I think we were the first and only unsigned band to ever tour with Kiss. We were put in on this big tour, rock the nation around the country. We did, 40 or 50 dates with them in front of, 10 to 15,000 fans every night. And, believe it or not, that wasn't the best part of it. The best part was literally just becoming friends with them and hanging out with them and catering every day. And, there's parts in my book where I tell stories of us playing wiffle ball with Kiss in the back parking lot one afternoon, or, debating with Gene over, songs on Kiss albums and what guitar tunings they had in the 80s, and arguing with Gene, or having eating contests in the catering and them cheering us on. And it was just so much fun that, that stuff became more book worthy and more memory worthy than the actual shows. I loved more than anything playing with them. Don't get me wrong, in front of those fans, but every day hanging out with them, knowing the next morning you're waking up and doing it all over again. It was a dream come true. Yeah.
That's mind blowing, man. That's so amazing. So, all right. So what do you, what's on your table now with, again, we're still under semi quarantine. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 5 to 6 months. So What are you doing now? What's on your plate now beside, the book's ready to come out, promoting Joeylicious more?
So again, obviously the book takes up a lot of my time, even though it's done. Now I'm going to have to do a whole promotion run virtually. This time I'm going to have to do a promotion run, and that's going to take up so much of my time. But what I also do, like we mentioned earlier, I love to teach kids. I still give drum lessons virtually. I give some lessons in person. I teach at School of Rock. I teach at a lot of different schools, drum lessons and music. I love teaching. I love educating children. I love talking about the music business. I do music master classes about business and what the do's and don'ts of the business. I've done a lot of do's, but I've also had a lot of don'ts. So I love to pass on all the stuff that I've learned through my 30-year career to the kids of the future, because some of these kids are so good that, they'll blow your mind. And I want to make sure that they don't waste some of the years that I wasted on, doing things the wrong way. I want to give them a little bit of my knowledge and pass it on to them. Right.
Yeah, the whole thing with these schools of rock all around the country and all, the talent of the kids these days is just it's amazing. It truly is.
I mean, these kids, again, obviously I'm primarily a drum instructor, but I'm also the music director at one of the School of Rocks here in New Jersey. And, it's so funny that, some of these drummers, I'm teaching them licks that I could have never learned at their age. I just learned them maybe a couple of years ago, some crazy Bonham triplets, or, Hot for Teacher from Van Halen. I had this girl group do Hot for Teacher for Van Halen. Spot on. Young teenage girls play Hot for Teacher perfectly. It was like, where were these kids, when I was growing up? I was in my garage playing In My Dreams from Dokken the wrong way, or Living After Midnight the wrong way, messing it up, out of key, out of tune, too fast. I wish I had instructors like me and schools like School of Rock to tell me, hey, slap, you're doing it the wrong way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little jealous of the kids today. I'll say that.
Listen, they have the world at their fingertips. Listen, it's a harder business today, because I don't think you can make the living you could have back then, just because of streaming and stuff like that. You're never going to sell records like you sold back in the 70s and the 80s. But they also have all the advantages too. They have YouTube, they have streaming, they have so many other outlets. And that's also what I teach about in my master classes. Don't limit yourself. Look what I've done. I went from, the name of my book is Start with the Dream, a drummer's journey from rock and roll to TV to Broadway, which I was also on. I played in a Broadway show for almost 5 years. So,
What show did you do?
It was called The Great Comet of 1812, starring Josh Groban. And, you just don't limit yourself. There's no reason why, because you play rock and roll, you can't play theater, and you can't be an actor, and you can't have a streaming show, and you can't write a book. Why can't you do everything?
Right. I'm with you.
Yep. So, and that's what today's day and age, you can really do that. It's all at your fingertips.
What is there else like in your sights that you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Oh, I mean, listen, the sky's the limits. I've always wanted to do a full solo album of my own material, singing, playing drums. There's so much more to do. I'd love to do a follow-up to my autobiography one day. I'd love to do a lot more seasons of wrestling with Joeylicious. I think once the general public sees it and realizes the fun that was 80s wrestling, you know it better than anyone. Wrestling today is it's still good. Don't get me wrong, but it's missing some kind of magic that the 80s wrestling had. And I think it's mostly because of the personalities back then, that they had the freedom to be themselves. And, today so much of the stuff is scripted and in a box that you don't get the freedom. Whereas my show, Wrestling with Joeylicious, I'm giving these guys the freedom to be whatever they want on camera. It's filmed basically the same way that Z-Rock was filmed, as far as here's the outline of the script. I want you to kind of get us over here, but be yourself. Tito Santana, be yourself. Roddy Piper, be yourself. Hulk Hogan, be yourself, and get us to that next level. Because these guys are superstars. They did live interviews for, almost a decade. They're magic in front of the camera. So that's kind of, obviously my focus is mainly on that show right now, but there's just so many other things I want to do.
Interesting. I can't wait to see what you got cooking next.
Thanks, dude. Listen, I appreciate it. I hope everyone goes and checks out the show on Amazon Prime. You can just, if you go on the search bar, just type in Joeylicious. It's the easiest way to find it. All the episodes will come up. Please write a review if you can. You can go on even the regular Amazon site. You don't even need Prime. If you just go on Amazon.com and type in Joeylicious, you can just leave reviews, and I would be eternally grateful.
Is there any orders they should watch them, or just watch them however they want?
No, just people have been asking me that all week, believe it or not, because they just got released last week on Amazon Prime. So no, there's no particular order. I'm not sure if you watched them in any particular order. I would suggest maybe we're watching the Roddy Piper one first, and then
that was the first one I watched.
Then it really doesn't matter. But there's not a continuous storyline in the shorts. In the season, there's a continuous storyline that you have to follow the season. Again, these shorts are plucked out of the season, and you'll see most of those shorts in this book. Nice.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more. Seriously, I was like, damn, I wanted to see the whole thing of the training of Joeylicious and the whole love of Rocky and your mom smacking you around a little.
Oh, we take a page right out of Rocky. Again, with the season one. Again, if you get a chance when the book comes out, I think you're going to really enjoy it. It's a really short book. It's only about 230 pages. It's a flyby. It's a fun story of my rise, my eventual, success, and maybe even another fall and maybe another rise. We'll see. But, it's along the way. It's all the wrestlers that I meet, and maybe, my shot at the big time. Do I blow it? Do I not blow it? We'll have to see.
When you were approaching all these, wrestling superstars, were any of them kind of like, what the hell is this?
Well, it's funny you said that. So, as I mentioned earlier, Jimmy Snuka was my first favorite wrestler of all time. When I saw him go off the top rope and do this, I was captivated. His feud with Don Morocco was really what got me hooked on professional wrestling. This must have been around 83-ish, I'm going to guess, somewhere around that area. And he was actually the first person that came on board with the show. I had already done Z-Rock. I already established a little bit of a name for myself in the TV industry. So, I started reaching out to some of the wrestlers. We actually had Chris Jericho on Z-Rock. So there was an episode with Chris Jericho on Z-Rock. So, the wrestlers were kind of familiar with that. And, when I reached out to some of these wrestlers, Jimmy's wife, Carol, was absolutely so pleasant to work with. And she was on board with her and Jimmy immediately. They loved the concept. They loved the script that I sent them. I kind of sent them a little bit of Z-Rock to show them what the show would kind of feel like. And they were just on board. They just loved the idea. We spent 2 days filming with Jimmy. He was an absolute gentleman. We filmed in a park up in the Bronx, and we were on a park bench. That's kind of where the scene takes place, as you probably saw. And we couldn't film because so many people were driving by, beeping their horns, screaming, "Superfly, Superfly!" Because he still looks like Snuka. He had the headband. Yeah. He's still, in the scenes, he's doing this and stuff. So everyone knew him. So he was so easy to film with that once we got him and we edited that clip of him and his short that's on Amazon Prime right now, all of the other wrestlers just fell in line. And not only did they just fall in line, they were reaching out to me. It's such a small community that, unfortunately, a lot of these 80s wrestlers are not working, which is an absolute travesty because these guys they're superstars. And, when they heard about this show based around 80s wrestling, starring, I bill it as starring the legends of wrestling. And it really does star the legends of wrestling and this schmuck right here. And, all of them kind of fell in line after that. I would wake up in the morning and have a text from Ric Flair or a voicemail from Jimmy Hart saying, "Hey, baby, I got to be part of the show. I love it." So, it was such an amazing experience. I still have most of those voicemails saved, by the way. So all of them after Jimmy just came on board like that, especially Mick, who, as you know, Mick Foley's favorite wrestler too is Jimmy Snuka. And when he saw that episode, he was absolutely thrilled to be a part of the show.
That's awesome. I can tell you a quick Snuka story. When I wrestled him, it was I was like a year in the business. It was 93, I think. And it was a tag team. Me and my tag team partner, we wrestled Snuka and Morocco.
What? What the hell? Is that match online?
Yeah, it was on ECW TV.
Oh my God, dude, I got to see
it. WWE Network.
I probably saw it back in the day. I'm not even realizing
Probably.
It.
So crap. They we get there and we see on the thing, the lineup, and we see we're wrestling Snuka and Morocco. We're like, oh shit. And so we go over to them. We're like, hey, hey guys, we introduce yourself, what do you want to do? They're like, don't worry, brother. Don't worry. We'll take care of everything.
That was like,
that was like 3 hours before the show. We're like, all right.
Right.
2 hours go by. We go back to them. Hey, you guys have any idea what you want to do? Don't worry, brother. Don't worry.
No.
We're like, okay. We're at the curtain. We're getting ready to go out. We're like, so what are we doing? And the ref comes by. He's getting ready to go out. He goes, jump them before the bell. We're like, all right. So we go out. They come out. They're doing their. We jump them. All of a sudden, they turn around and Snuka pairs up with me. He grabbed me by the forehead. He goes, "You dumb motherfucker." I said, I'm dead. I thought he was going to kill me.
What? They didn't know?
Oh, yeah, they know. But I was just like, I'm dead. I'm dead. My whole life flashed before my eyes.
How did the match go? How did it turn out? I mean,
they squashed us. And they squashed us, and we rolled out, and they, Yeah.
But again, dream come, dude, that's amazing.
Yeah,
what a great story.
10 years earlier, I'm watching those two in the biggest feud of wrestling of all time.
Well, where the hell is your book?
I've been asked that many times. I could write a book, believe me.
Well, listen, take my advice. We're in COVID right now. It's a great time to start. Just start jotting down. You don't have to write it in order. You don't have to just start writing down some stories. And you're going to see before you know it, you're going to be in front of that computer and you're going to have a book written.
See, I was the opposite of you. Like, where you wanted to be the musician or be a wrestler, and you were a musician and you stuck with the musician.
Right.
I was a musician, and my backup plan was to be a wrestler. Like, I was always a big fat guy. And by the time, like, 1989, 90 rolled around, I was like, man, I'm like 250 pounds. I'm like, you don't see no fat glam bands, fat guys in a glam band. So I sold all my equipment and went to wrestling school.
Dude, we basically have parallel lives. It's insane.
Yeah.
We're like, I couldn't do this, so I went this way. You couldn't do this, so you went that way.
Yep.
Incredible.
It's funny.
Great. It's so great. And again, it's so important, again, that my first book, like I said, Start with a Dream, that's what it's about. It's about having a passion when you were a kid and a dream, and nothing that anyone can tell you is going to stop you from making that dream a reality. And, you did it. I did it. There's so many people out there that did it. And just because if someone's 50, 60 years old, doesn't mean that dream is over. Go out there and search for it. Why not? Go get it.
Right. Absolutely. And the funny thing is, in wrestling, then I got hurt. So I was out of wrestling for a little bit. So I started doing the music again. And then I had a band. The band was called the Dead Gerber Babies.
What a great name.
That's a book right there.
I mean, dude, come on, get writing. Come on, I'll help you edit.
Let's do it. Come on.
I'm ready.
That would be season 2, Wrestling with Joeylicious. You can throw me in there.
Dude, seriously, I'd love to have you. Once we start filming, I'd love to have you. I mean, obviously, Bubba, I've talked to be a part of the show already. I've talked to Devon even. These guys, certain guys that are under contract with other organizations, it's a little bit harder to get them on board. But any independent guys that aren't affiliated with anywhere, even like the legends that I'm having, aren't really that affiliated with anyone. They might be under legend contracts, but they can do my show, luckily enough. Yeah. So, we're trying to reach out to everyone we can. We love anyone and everyone to be a part of this. Nice.
That's awesome, man. Cool. So everybody needs to go to Amazon Prime and look up Joeylicious and just be prepared to freaking laugh.
Absolutely. And again, they're short, so they're fun. 5-6 minute episodes. They start, they finish, always have a fun ending. They're really easy to watch. Please leave a review if you get a chance. If you do love them, be on the lookout for the full length novelization, which will be out later this month. It's nonstop hilarity. Again, if you grew up in New York or Philly, anywhere like that, you're going to get so much out of the Brooklyn and the city aspect of the characters and the other characters in the show, whether it's my mom or the priest, giving me a hard time, and it's me basically following the Rocky storyline of hopefully maybe getting a shot at the big title one day.
That's awesome. Joey, man, this has been amazing talking to you. I'm happy to say I know you now, and happy to talk to you, and happy to know Joeylicious.
Dude, again, thank you so much for having me. Anytime, I'd love to come back. Please, maybe when the book comes out, we'll talk more about it. After, I'll send you a copy. Give it a quick read, and I'd love a nice review from a real wrestler.
Absolutely. I'm gonna throw some Amazon reviews on there for the show too.
Amazing, dude. Thank you so much. Please, and all your listeners, please go over to Amazon.com or Amazon Prime. Leave a review for the show. Each episode, you can leave their own review. So please, if you can, leave one for each episode. It will really help me a lot. Thanks.
Awesome. Absolutely. Joey, thanks again, man.
Thanks, brother. I'll see you soon.
You got it.
Later, dude.